Welcome to my YouTube channel. To all of you, my regular and returning subscribers, thank you very much for your support. You guys are wonderful. And if you are dropping by for the first time, please like this video, hit the subscribe button, and strike the bell notification. That way, you will be the first to know as soon as I post any new content. Thank you very much as you do so. So in this week's video, we will be discussing insider risk management. And we're going to begin by finding out exactly what insider risk management is and why it is important. We'll then go on to see how Microsoft Purview can help with insider risk management. We'll talk about the workflow and the components of insider risk management in Purview. We'll look at some of the different scenarios of insider risk management and how Purview can help us to prevent things like data exfiltration, data leakage, and data tampering. We'll then go on to talk about how to plan for insider risk management with Purview. And then after that, we are going to get into the console. We are going to see how to put all of these things we've discussed to practice. Please stay with us to the end of the video. It promises to be a very, very exciting session. And I promise you that at the end of this video, you will have learned a lot about insider risk management, specifically using Microsoft Purview. Thank you very much as you do so. All right, in this video, we're going to be discussing insider risk management. And we're going to see how to manage and mitigate insider risk through the help of Microsoft Purview. And as an agenda, we're going to be looking at what insider risk is, or what insider risk management is specifically. We are going to be finding out why this is important. And we are also going to see how Microsoft Purview is going to help with insider risk management. Then we are going to look at the components and the workflows within insider risk management. We'll discuss some of the insider risk management scenarios and how Purview can help us to mitigate those scenarios. Specifically, we are going to be discussing data exfiltration, data leakage, data tampering, and then we'll see how to plan for insider risk management with Microsoft Purview. And then we'll summarize and conclude before we dive right into the console to be able to see how we can actually put this to practice. So let us get started. Now, the question is, what is insider risk management? Well, insider risk management is the process that we'll use to identify, monitor, and respond to potential threats that are posed by insiders. And these insiders could be employees, they could be contractors, they could be partners. And typically, they would have access to sensitive data or to systems within our organization. Now, this risk could include data theft, data leakage, data tampering, sabotage, fraud, and even theft of intellectual property, or other malicious or negligent actions that can harm the organization's reputation, productivity, security, or compliance. Now, insider risk is a very important aspect of organizational security strategy. It will be focusing on mitigating the risk associated with those that have inside access to the systems and the data of the organization. So why is insider risk management important? Well, insider risk management is important because insiders have privileged access to valued data and assets that can be exploited for personal gain, for malicious intent, or for external coercion. Now, according to a 2020 report by Ponemon Institute, the average cost of an insider risk incident was 11.45 million, and the frequency of insider risk incident increased by 47% in just 2 years. Also, insider risk can be really difficult to detect and prevent because insiders can use legitimate tools and legitimate credentials to be able to bypass security controls and to evade detection. So, organizations would need to implement effective insider risk management strategies to be able to protect their data and their assets from insider threats. So, how can Microsoft Purview help with this? Well, Microsoft Purview basically is a unified data governance service that can allow organizations to discover, to catalog, to classify, and to manage their data across on premises, cloud, and even hybrid environments. It allows organizations to gain visibility and to gain control over their data and to comply with various regulations and standards, which could be the General Data Protection Regulation or the GDPR, the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act or HIPAA, and the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard or the PCI DSS, just to mention a few of them. Now, Purview also gives us capabilities around insider risk management that is going to be allowing organizations to identify, to assess, and to mitigate insider risk across their data estate. And it allows organizations to, for example, define and enforce data policies and access controls, which is going to be preventing unauthorized or inappropriate data access or usage by insiders. It also allows organizations to monitor and audit data activities and anomalies, allowing them to detect and investigate insider risk and incidents, and then to alert and respond to insider risk and incidents with automated or manual actions, such as maybe revoking access, blocking data transfers, or even initiating remediation workflows. And also, organizations can analyze and report on insider risk trends and insider risk patterns to allow them to gain insights and to improve insider risk management practices. So, what is the workflow for insider risk management in Purview? Okay, so the insider risk management workflow in Purview consists of four phases. We've got the first phase, which is the identify, then we've got the triage, we've got the investigate, and then we have the action phase. Now, the workflow is supported by a number of components. For example, policies are rules that we are going to be defining what activities are allowed or prohibited for insiders based on, for example, the sensitivity of the data location, the data source, the data users, the action on the data, the destination on the data, and some other criteria in that direction. Now, these policies can be configured to trigger alerts or actions when violated by insiders. Now, alerts themselves are notifications that enforce administrators or security analysts of potential insider risk or incidents. And this is going to be based on policy violations or anomaly detections. Now, these alerts can be prioritized, they can be assigned, they can be tracked in Purview portal, or they can be integrated with other tools such as Microsoft Teams, Power Automate, or Azure Sentinel. Now, for triaging, this is the process that would use to review and to assess alerts in order to allow us to determine the severity of the alerts and the impact and urgency of those alerts. It's going to be allowing us to prioritize and filter alerts for further action or for further investigation. Now, investigation here will be the process of analyzing and verifying alerts, allowing us to determine the root cause of these alerts, the scope of the alerts, and of course, the evidence supporting these alerts. Now, this is going to also allow us to gather and correlate data from different sources, such as the Purview Data Catalog, the Purview Data Map, the Purview Data Insights, and of course, Entra ID, formerly known as Azure Active Directory. So then we will be able to act on these alerts. Now, acting is the process of responding and resolving these alerts, allowing us to mitigate or even to completely eliminate insider risk or incidents. It's going to allow us to execute appropriate measures such as maybe revoking access, blocking data transfers, initiating remediation workflows, or escalating to the appropriate teams, which could be maybe the legal team or the HR team. Next, we are going to be looking at the different kinds of insider risk scenarios and how Purview is going to be helping us to deal with these scenarios. So we're going to start with data exfiltration. Basically, data exfiltration is the unauthorized transfer of data from an organization to an external destination, which could be a personal device, it could be a cloud storage, or it could even be a third-party platform. Now, Data exfiltration could be motivated by a number of reasons. For example, some employers could exfiltrate data for financial gains or for the purposes of espionage, revenge, or just plain curiosity. Now, Purview can help us prevent data exfiltration because it will be allowing us to enforce policies that restrict data access or data transfer based on the sensitivity of the data, the location of the data, the user data, the data action, the data destination, or other criteria. Now, we could also detect data exfiltration by monitoring and auditing data activities and anomalies, and then alerting and responding to data exfiltration attempts. Now, the next scenario we are going to be looking at is data leakage. Now, data leakage is unintentional. It is the unintentional or the accidental exposure of data to unauthorized parties, which could be done through public websites, it could be done through email attachments, or maybe a shared folder. Now, data leakage can be caused by human error, it can be caused by misconfiguration, it could even be caused by malware, and it can result in data corruption, data loss, or a data breach. Now, Purview can help us to prevent data leakage by enforcing policies that would require things like data encryption, data masking, or data deletion, which will be based on the sensitivity of the data, the location of the data, and of course, the destination of the data, amongst other criteria. And it could also help us to detect data leakage by monitoring and auditing data activities and anomalies, and of course, alerting and responding to data leakage incidents. And then the third scenario we are going to be looking at is data tampering. Data tampering is the unauthorized modification or deletion of data, such as changing data values, data formats, data schema, or data records. It can be motivated by fraud, by sabotage, or just plain data manipulation. And data tampering can affect the data integrity, the quality of the data, and the reliability of the data. And Purview can help us prevent data tampering through the enforcement of policies that's going to be restricting data access or changes made to the data as a result of some of the other criteria that we talked about, like the sensitivity of the data, the source of the data, the destination of the data, and of course, the action that we want to perform on the data. It will allow us to prevent tampering through auditing and monitoring our data activities and anomalies, and of course, also alerting and responding to the incident of tampering. So we will see next how to plan for insider risk management with Microsoft Purview. Now, how we will be doing this is, of course, we'll be taking a number of steps that we can see here highlighted in the boxes. For example, we want to define the scope and the objectives of the insider risk management. For example, we want to know what are the data sources, what are the data types, who are the data users, what actions do they take on the data, and where is this data moving to? Okay, those are some of the things that will be in scope, and we want to also know the expected outcomes and benefits of insider risk management. Then we want to assess the current data and the maturity of insider risk management. We want to know what are the existing policies, what controls do we have, what kind of data monitoring do we have in place, do we have any form of alerts, can we perform investigations, and of course, what are the data response capabilities that we have, and are there any gaps and challenges in insider risk management? And then we want to go ahead to design the target state and roadmap of the insider risk management. We want to know the desired data policies, the desired data controls and monitoring, the kinds of alerts we want to put in place, and of course, the responses that we want to happen. And then we want to prioritize the time for stating timelines for implementing insider risk management. And then we want to go ahead and implement and test the management solutions. We want to look at configuring and deploying the data policies in Purview, the data scans, the data insights, the data alerts and actions, the data report, and of course, we want to go ahead and validate and verify the insider risk functionality and performance. Then we want to move on to monitor and improve the insider risk management solution. We want to go ahead and review and analyze Purview data activities like data anomalies, data alerts, data incidents, and data trends. And then want to optimize and enhance the insider risk management policies, controls, and practices. So, summarizing all what we have discussed, insider risks are very significant threats to organizations, and these threats require a proactive means of managing them. And Microsoft Purview gives us an effective solution that we can use to prevent, to monitor, and to respond to insider risks. Of course, we'll be doing that through policies, alerts, triages, investigations, and action components that will be supporting the entire process of insider risk management and insider risk management features. And we are going to be using these features to address different insider risk scenarios. Of course, scenarios such as data exfiltration, data leakage, and data tampering. Now, by planning for insider risk management with Purview, organizations can then improve their security posture and then protect their data and assets from insider threats. So, in the next aspect of this video, of course, we'll be getting into the compliance portal for Microsoft Purview. We are going to be practicalizing some of the things we have discussed in this aspect of the video, and then you are going to be able to do that and replicate that within your environment. So please stay tuned as we do so. Thank you very much as you continue to watch. So we are in the compliance portal for Microsoft Purview, and we want to begin to dive in to see some of the things that we need to do to be able to enable insider risk management in Microsoft Purview. So there are a number of things that we've got to be aware of, and as usual, one of the things we need to be aware of is we've got to have the appropriate subscription, we've got to have the appropriate licenses. We need to do this, of course. We need to confirm our Microsoft 365 subscription, and we also need to be aware of whatever add-ons that would require. And I'm going to be dropping a link in the description area where you will check what is applicable to your organization, and you would see the kind of licenses that you require. But generally, you will need to have a Microsoft 365 Enterprise E5 plan. And if you do not have that and you want to try insider risk management, you can add Microsoft 365 to your existing subscription by signing up for a trial of Microsoft 365 Enterprise E5 license. That's the first thing we want to know. Now, the next thing you also want to be aware of is you need to assign insider risk management roles. So I'm going to be demonstrating how you will assign the insider risk management role within the Microsoft Purview portal. So I'm logged into the compliance portal. That's the link there. I'm currently on the home page. And that's here we can see compliance.microsoft.com. I am on the home page and I'm signed in as a global administrator. But as I usually say, that is too much of permission. And you want to always use the least permission that is required to be able to perform your day-to-day task in Microsoft Purview. And indeed, in any of the Microsoft or indeed any of the IT portals that you will be using. So there are 6 role groups that are used to configure insider risk management. And for us to make the insider risk management available as a menu in Microsoft Purview, we would need to assign any of those roles to our users that want to be running the Microsoft Purview configuration. And we are going to be doing that by going to the role and scope here. Just for completeness, I'll just go ahead and expand it. We'll go to role and scope, and I want to go ahead and click on permissions, and that's going to show us. So I'm going to show us in a minute the permissions that we have. So now we are on the permissions page, and then we have under Microsoft Purview solutions. I'll go ahead and click on roles. And clicking on roles, of course, is going to load another page. All right, so here we have a number of things that we can do. Now, this takes us to the role groups for Microsoft Purview Solutions page. Here we will be selecting, see, Insider Risk Management. I'll go ahead and click on Insider Risk Management. Okay, so I've clicked on Insider Risk Management, and I want to go up here and click on Edit. So clicking on Edit here, of course, gives me a number of options that I can do. So here I have a number of people that I can choose that are already members of the group. I can go ahead and click on Choose Users to be able to add users. So if I go ahead and click on Choose Users, I can, for example, we can see that Megan is already added. I can go ahead and choose whatever user I want to add to the group, to the role group. So I'll go ahead and, for example, choose Grady, and then I'll go ahead and click on Select. And of course, I want to go ahead and click on Next. And it takes us to the review. We can see here the roles in this group. We have case manager, custodian, and all of those things. And I have the option of going to edit, either to add or to remove any of those users from the role. But in this case, I just wanted to add a user. And then I'll go ahead and click on Save. And that is what is going to do. It's going to add the user I have selected to the group. But basically, there are 6 role groups that I use to configure Insider Risk Management. And we are going to be listing some of them, of course, starting with the most powerful, which is the Microsoft Entra ID Global Admin role. Like I said, the Global Admin role is a very powerful and sensitive role. You want to exercise a lot of caution when you want to assign any user to that role. We have other ones like the Microsoft Entra ID Compliance Administrator. We have the Microsoft Purview Organization Management Role Group. We have the Microsoft Purview Compliance Administrator Role Group. And then we have things like Insider Risk Management Role Group and the Insider Risk Management Admin Role Group. But in this case, of course, I just added a user to the Insider Risk Management role. And all I wanted to do to complete this configuration is to go ahead and click on Done. And that, it takes us back to the role group of Microsoft 365 Admin. And of course, if I go ahead and click on Insider Management and click on Edit, we'll go ahead and now see the user that I added, which is Grady Archie in the previous step. So that's how we can add users as members to a role group in Microsoft Purview compliance portal. So the next thing we want to look at in Microsoft Purview is the recommended actions for insider risk management. So what are recommended actions? Recommended actions will be able to allow us to quickly get started with insider risk management. And they are included within the overview page. And recommended actions will guide us through the steps that we require to configure and deploy these policies. So how do we get to recommended actions? We are in Microsoft Purview. We are currently on the home page. We want to scroll down to Insider Risk Management. So I'll click on Insider Risk Management. And that takes us to the overview tab of the insider risk management page here. And this is where we are going to see a list of recommended actions. It's currently loading. So we can see that we have a number of recommended actions that's going to help us to get up and running as per what we've got on the overview tab. Now, the first one here would be to turn on auditing. Now, if we do turn on auditing, what that does is that users and admin activities within our organization will be recorded to the Microsoft 365 audit log. And then insider risk policies and analysis and analytics will scan uh, these logs to be able to detect all kinds of risk or risky activities. Now, there are a number of recommended actions. This just gives us a snapshot here. But if we want to see more, we want to click on this link by going to the all recommended actions. So those are some of the things we want to explore. I'm going to drop another link in the chat to show you where you can get those details. Now, another thing that you want to look at is to go and look at the settings. So from the insider risk management overview page, I'll go and click on the cog here. So I'll go ahead and click on insider risk settings. So it's going to take some time to load. And yeah, now it has loaded here. So we have a number of settings. Under general here, we can see we have a number of settings. For example, we have the privacy tab. Now, the privacy tab allows us to select displaying usernames or anonymized versions within our alerts and cases. So we can see here that we have the option available to show pseudonymized versions of usernames, and of course to do not show pseudonymized versions. Now, again, we have other tabs like, for example, policy indicator. Now, the policy indicators here involves setting up policy templates that allows us to do through the use of specific risk indicators. We can see we've got different kinds of indicators like office indicators, device indicators, all the way down to some of them that are new. For example, the cloud storage indicators currently in preview, the cloud service indicators, and the Microsoft Fabric indicators that is also currently in preview. Now we have other ones like the detection groups and the global exclusions. We also have the policy time frames. Now the policy time frames is going to be defining periods of review that are triggered by policy matches, and these policy matches are based on events and activities. We can see here that we have activation window between 1 to 30 days, which determines how long policies are going to actively detect activities for users, which is triggered when a user performs the first activity that matches the policy. So we have a slider here that we can slide left and right, of course, showing us how we can make modifications to those activation windows. Then we also have intelligent detections, which is going to be specifying the volume of alerts or excluding different kinds of entities from risk scoring, allowing filtering of Microsoft detected detection alerts. So we can see here we have options for file activity detection, where we can specify the number of events, we can specify the alert volumes, we can specify Microsoft Defender for endpoint alert status, and all of those kinds of things. So we have lots and lots and lots of settings that we can explore all over here. So we will be looking at a lot of those ones, but of course, all you've got to do to see what can be done is just to go ahead and click on the tab, and then of course take note of the alert. You can either turn it on or off, or you can specify a lot of things right there in the description. So I'm going back to privacy here. In privacy, I want to go ahead and make a setting. For example, I want to specify do not show pseudonymized versions of usernames. I'll go ahead and select that. So to make a setting, I just go ahead and click on the tab, specify the setting. Now, this setting means that the actual display name for all users that perform activities matching your insider risk policy is going to be shown. Now, the default here means is that it will show a pseudonymized version of the username across all risk management features for policies, for alerts, for cases, and so on. So to make a setting, I just go ahead and click on the tab, I change the setting, and then I want to go ahead and hit on save, and that saves the setting. Now, I want to go to policy indicators while this one is saving. I'll go to, for example, policy indicators. Now, in the policy indicators here, on the policy indicator from the insider risk setting, I want to be sure that I am in the right place. Yes, I am in the right place. So we can go ahead and make some settings right here in policy indicators as well. So we can, for example, go to office indicators, and from within office indicators, we want to take note of some of the settings here. For example, sharing SharePoint files with people outside the organization, sharing SharePoint folders with people outside the organization, and all of these things. But in this case, for the office indicators, I want to select all of the settings. So I'll click on all of those settings, and like I did before, I'll come to the bottom here, and then I will click on save to apply those settings as well. Another thing I want to do is I want to come to priority user groups. And then, of course, it tells us that we can set up priority user groups which will be defining users in our organization whose activity requires closer inspection based on factors such as their position, their level of access to sensitive information, or their risk history. It tells us further that once this is created, our groups can be included in certain policy templates that are more likely to generate high sensitivity alerts. Now here, I want to go ahead and click on create priority user group. Once I do that, it opens the new priority user group wizard right here. So I want to, on the name and describe the priority user group, I want to give it a name. So I can give it a name such as maybe I'll call it, for example, legal. Okay. I'll call it legal team, for example. And while the description is not a hard requirement here, because we see that the name has a red asterisk next to it, meaning that we've got to fill in the name before we can proceed. The description does not, but it is best practice to always give whatever setting you have a description as much as possible. So I'll just go ahead and say here, for example, I'll say members of this team manage legal and regulatory compliance documents, for example. So giving it some description. So once I've supplied that, I want to go ahead and click on next, and it prompts me to choose members. So to choose members, I'll go ahead and click on choose members, and I'll just go ahead and choose Alex. I'll choose Bianca, and then um I'll choose party, for example, and then I'll go ahead and click on add, so that it adds those members, and we can see their names and their email addresses here. If you added a member by mistake, you can come here and just click on remove to remove the member. So I'll go ahead and click on next, and here it takes us to the choose who can view data involving users in this priority group. So here I want to go ahead and click on choose users and role groups. Now it takes us to the choose user and role groups page. We want to go ahead and select the checkbox next to, let's see, go ahead and let's see, yeah, I want to go ahead and select the checkbox next to, for example, insider risk management. And that is going to add all of the members that have the insider risk management role in Microsoft Purview. So I'll go ahead and that's one option. Or I can, on a more granular level, specify each of those users individually. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the insider risk management users. We can see here that there are 3 users, and then I'll go ahead and click on add. So I've chosen those users, and then I want to click on next. So it takes us to the review page here, where we have the option to edit priority user group name, to edit priority user group description, and to edit included users and groups and all of that. But I'm happy with everything I've done. I want to go ahead and click on submit, and it submits all of those things for us. So it's currently submitting, and then of course before long it's going to tell us that it is successful and everything is done. All right, so we can see here that our policy priority user group has been created. Of course, it tells us that the group can now be included in the policies that detect activities for priority users. I'll go ahead and click on done. Now, another thing we can do is to turn on auditing. Well, if auditing is not already turned on for your organization, we can do that in the Microsoft Purview portal. We could also do that here in the compliance portal. There are other ways we can do it as well. We can use Exchange Online PowerShell, but we need to take note that it can take several hours after we turn on auditing before we can see any results when we are searching for audit logs. So how will we be doing that? We'll go to the compliance portal, and of course we'll go to audit. So I'll go ahead and click on audit, and that takes us to the auditing here. If we had not turned it on, we can see here it tells us to start recording user and admin activity. So that's where we want to turn it on. So if I go ahead and click on it, and I see, like I said, it may take some time, up to 60 minutes, for the effect to be seen. All right, we are in the insider risk management, the overview tab of insider risk management. What we want to do now is we want to create an insider risk policy. So to do that, we'll click on policies, the policies tab, and it takes us, we can see here that we currently do not have any policy. So we want to go ahead and click on create policy. So clicking on create policy opens the create policy template wizard. Now we see here that it tells us that templates specify the conditions and also the indicators that define the risk activities that we want to be alerted to. So we can see we've got by default data theft by departing users selected, and it gives us all of the options. We have other areas like data leaks, security policy violation, which is in preview, health record misuse, which is also in preview, and then risky browser usage, which is also in preview. So we are not going to be looking at the preview features just yet. We want to be creating a policy to prevent data leakage. So I'm going to click on data leaks. And of course, after I have created, after I've clicked on the data leaks, we can see here that it gives us different kinds of options. It tells us that the policy detects data leaks by any user included in this policy. And it tells us that data leaks can range from accidental oversharing of information outside the organization to data theft with malicious intent. It gives us all of the prerequisites. I'll just go ahead and click on next. So I'm clicking on next here. It gives us the option to give our policy a name. So in this case, I want to create a policy that will prevent the leakage of financial information. So I'll give it a name, which I'll call, for example, I'll call it financial. Sorry, I think I got that name wrong. Financial data protection, for example. And like I said previously, while the description is not a hard requirement, it is highly recommended that you always give a description. So I would say this policy prevents the leakage of financial information. For example, I'll just make a few corrections, and then we will click on next. So clicking on next takes us to the choose users, groups, and adaptive scopes. So here it tells us to choose users, groups, and scopes within the organization that this policy will apply to. We can see that we have the option to apply to all users, groups, and adaptive scopes, or to specific users, groups, and adaptive scopes. So I want this to be applicable to all users. So I'll leave the default selected, and then I'll click on next. So this screen here is actually an optional screen, which is also a preview feature, giving us exclusions. So while we have selected all of the users, we may want to exclude a few users or a few groups. And if that is the case, we want to come here and click on users to exclude or click on groups to exclude. But that is not the case in my situation. I want the policy to be applicable to everyone. So I'll go ahead and click on next. Now it takes us to the decide whether to prioritize content. And it tells us that we can prioritize content based on factors such as where the content is stored and how the content is classified. It further tells us that risk scores are increased for any activity that contains priority content, which in turn increases the chance of generating a high severity alert. So I want to prioritize content for just sensitive info types, but you can see that you have options to select every other one. So I'm going to deselect every other one, and I want just sensitive info types to be selected, and then I want to go ahead and click on next. So here it gives us the option to add the sensitive info types to prioritize. So we want to do that. It tells us that any activity associated with content that contains this sensitive info type is going to be assigned a higher risk score. So I want to go ahead and click on add or edit sensitive info types. I'll go ahead and click on it, and it prompts me to add or edit different kinds of sensitive info types. We can see that we have a whole lot of them. For example, if we specify something that is applicable to the United Kingdom, I just have to click on UK, And before long, it's going to filter. We can see here, it tells us different kinds. For example, physical address. If I don't want any detail that contains physical addresses to be leaked, I'll go ahead and select it. It tells us UK passport number, UK tax reference number, UK national insurance number, and all of that. Since we can also check for US as well. So it loads, and we can see here it gives us a lot of details. For example, US bank account number, which I can select. And then, of course, it tells us things like, let's see what we've got here. So we can select that. And it also tells us US, UK passport number, which is not financial related as per the information we chose. So I can go ahead and select that. And I could also select something that has to do with IBAN. So let's see if we have anything IBAN related. That is the international banking account number. Okay, so I want to go ahead and select that one as well. So those are the two kinds of information I want to prioritize. And then I'll go ahead and click on add. So we can see that those two details are added. So I want to go ahead and click on next, and clicking on next takes me to decide whether to score only activities with priority content. Well, here we need to decide whether to assign risk scores to all activities detected by this policy or to only activities that include priority content. In this case, of course, I want to go ahead and get alerts for all activities, which is the default, and then I want to go ahead and click on next. So it takes us to the to choose a triggering event for these policies. Now, it tells us to choose one or more triggering events to determine whether a policy will begin assigning risk scores to a user's activity. So we want to select which activities will trigger this policy. We want to be sure that downloading content from SharePoint is going to trigger the policy. And we have other things as well, like, for example, sending emails with attachments to recipients outside the organization. So what that does is this. If we have within our SharePoint site a document that includes bank account details and IBAN number, then it's going to trigger the policy. And that's what this setting is telling us right here. Again, sharing SharePoint files with people outside the organization is going to trigger the policy. And of course, downloading from Microsoft 365 locations is going to also trigger the policy when we want to exfiltrate. And then we have other options as well, and all of that. I'm just going to accept the default, and then I'll click on next. So now it tells us here to choose thresholds for triggering events. Now, the policy will start assigning risk scores to activities only when specific thresholds are met for the exfiltration activities. Now, we want to apply built-in thresholds, which is the recommended setting here, and it's a default. I want to go ahead and click on next as well. And it takes us to the indicators page. Now, within the indicators page, it tells us that the following indicators are used to generate alerts for the activities detected by the policy templates. So let's go to, for example, physical access indicators. If physical access after termination of failed access was selected, then we should deselect it. But in this case, that is not the issue. So we want to just allow that as well, and then we want to go ahead and click on next. So it takes us to the detection options page. Now, it gives us advanced detection options that we can use to generate alerts for the activities that has been detected. So it gives us a number of settings. I'm going to go ahead and accept the default. and then I want to click on next as well. So it takes us to the choose threshold type for indicators. Of course, we want to apply thresholds provided by Microsoft. And of course, we have other options as well. And it also gives us the option to turn on analytics. So we want to turn on analytics to give us recommended thresholds based on daily scans. I want to leave that setting for now because I don't want something that's going to be giving us a lot of challenge. It's going to take some time for the setting to take effect. So I want to go ahead and click on next, and it takes me to the review settings here. So it gives me the option to make um, reviews to edit policies. Of course, I can edit the policy type by clicking on the link. I can edit the name and description and all of those details here. But I think I'm happy with everything I've done. I want to go ahead and click on submit, and it goes ahead to submit my settings. So our policy has been created, like we can see, and it tells us that it might take up to 24 hours before policy matches will start showing up on the alerts tab. So it gives us some options here. Send me the following emails when a new policy generates its first alert, which is the default, or when new high severity alerts are generated. I'll just go ahead and accept the default, and then I'll go ahead and click on done. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and create notice templates. Now, but first, before that, we can see that the policy we created is now available. It gives us the policy name, it tells us the policy status, and all of those kinds of things. So far, we don't have users in scope, we don't have active alerts and all of that because we just created the policy. Now, remember, I said it might take up to 24 hours for us to begin to see what is going on within our policies. So what we want to do next is want to go ahead and click on notice templates to create a notice template. So we can see also that there's none available here, and I want to go ahead and click on create a notice template. Now it tells us that the template is going to be available to use anytime we need to send an email notice, for example, to a user included in an insider risk case. So we want to give our template a name. For example, we can call it data leak policy alert, for example. And who are we sending it from? We want to give it a name. Who is sending it from? For example, we want to send it from Johnny, for example. And of course, subjects, we want to, it tries to load. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click on the name. We may want to CC someone if that's what we want by just specifying the name. We could also blind copy somebody if that's what we want to do. And then we can give it a subject. I would say, for example, potential data leak detected. Okay, and then for the message body, I'll just see we have a message body here, which is basically in HTML format. We can see the tags, for example, the HTML open and close tags, the body tags, the header tags, the paragraph tags, and all of that. So I'll just copy all of this. And then I'll paste it in the message body. Okay, and then I want to go ahead and click on, I think there is, okay, that's okay. I'll go ahead and click on create. Okay, so we can see that the alert shows up here, and these are some of the things that we want to do. We could also update the alert, of course. So we are in the Purview portal and all of that. and we've selected, and we may want to, for example, do some editing. Let me just refresh this page for a bit. So we have this here. So we may, for example, select it, and of course, we can maybe delete it and all of those kinds of things after we've created the alert. We can do that as well. So, but basically, that's how we can create insider risk management policies. And of course, we can create notice templates and all of that. So, that's all we've got for this video. If you have any questions, please drop it in the comments down below, and I will be more than happy to respond to those questions. If you uh, have any comments and all of that, do that as well by dropping it in the chat. I'm going to drop all of the descriptions and all of the appropriate URL links in the comment section. So thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.